Hi guys, my name is Trinh and today I'm here to do my November wrap-up. I read 15 books in November, which is a pretty good number, but I will say that I read so much manga and graphic novels in November. At this point, I'm just gonna read a lot of manga and I'm just gonna live my best life. So let's get started. Of course, I'm gonna talk about Silver Spoon by Hiromu Arakawa. I borrowed these books from my boyfriend Jonathan, so thank you so much for letting me borrow these books. I read 3 volumes in November. I read 9, 10, and 11. I think my favorite volume is volume 9 because I just really enjoyed this one. And real quick, this series followed this group of characters at this agriculture high school, and basically our main character is Hachi Ken. He's just learning stuff at this high school and he makes new friends. Real quick, I do want to say that regarding this manga series, I feel like I'm just continuing the series just to see what's gonna happen at the end. And honestly, I'm in too deep basically because there are 15 volumes altogether and I have read 11 volumes already, so I have like a few more left. It's not like my favorite manga series, unfortunately. It's just like okay in my opinion. It's fun to read, but it's not like a manga series that I really want to have in my collection. I only have volume 1 and these books belong to my boyfriend. I feel like with this, it depends on the volume. Like for example, this volume was really great. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But volume 10, I was bored for majority of the time and I was really sad because I never want to be bored reading books, you know, like that's not the whole point. I want to have fun. But regarding this volume in specific, I was a little bit bored, and by the end I was just really happy that I was at the very end. There is this one thing that is really cute, but other than that, it does not make up for the entire volume. Okay, so I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I believe it was just okay. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it. And then volume 11, oh my god, I love this cover so much. This is me and then my dog. Let me see what happened. Oh yeah, the main character, he wants to start a business. His dad is the worst, and honestly, when it comes to the main character, I do relate to his predicament regarding family problems because he doesn't have the best parents. His mom is okay, but his dad is the worst and he really hates his dad and he avoids going home a lot of the times. But other than that, this volume is just like okay. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's not the worst, it's not the best, it's just okay in my opinion. So yeah, regarding this series, it fluctuates. Sometimes I really love a volume and then sometimes I find a volume average, you know. But yeah, I read these 3 books in November and I will definitely continue with the series later on because like I said, I do want to know what's gonna happen at the very end. I'm so glad that I finished the Town of Nero in November. So this is the very last book of the Trials of Apollo series. I read this book with my boyfriend. Basically, this series follows Apollo and how Zeus punished him. Throughout this entire series, he was a mortal named Lester and he goes through trials. In this book in particular, he and what's her name, Meg, oh my god, basically they go back to New York and we get to, you know, see some old characters again like Will, Nico, and then the main villain is Python, which is so shocking because I was under the impression that the main villain is Nero. But real quick, some trigger warnings for this book: amputation, violence, stabbing, and emotional manipulation. I feel like the one thing that's really great about this series is that we actually see Apollo grow so much as a character. In the very first book, he was so annoying, okay? Like he was really bratty, but then here in this book, he was not as bad, I feel like. And then also Apollo adores Meg like so much, like way more than I thought. Regarding the villains, I think they are defeated too quickly in my opinion. Like I said, the 2 most powerful villains, I guess, they get defeated really quickly in this book. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I still think this is a pretty good finale for a, you know, pretty big series. There are 5 books in the series, so yeah, it's pretty long, but I'm very happy that I finished this series and I'm very happy to have this book in my collection. Of course, I read the Bone series, well, the first 2 volumes of the Bone series. So this is out from Boneville and then The Great Cow Race, and the author is Jeff Smith. Basically, in the very first book, these 3 cousins, Phone Bone, Phony Bone, and Smiley Bone, they get kicked out of their hometown Boneville, and the main character is Phone Bone. Is it Phone Bone? Yeah, Phone Bone. Phony Bone, I don't like him. Smiley Bone is okay, but like he has 2 brain cells. Basically, in this book, the 3 cousins get separated and the main character, who is Phone Bone, he meets this girl named this is just embarrassing. I thought her name was Rose, but I'm like, it's not Rose. Thorn, that's her name, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, he meets a girl named Thorn and he has a crush on her, and turns out her grandmother is Grandma Ben. In my opinion, the first book is just to introduce the characters and learn more about them, but this book is okay. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This book, The Great Cow Race, was so great. See what I did there? This volume was so freaking funny. The first volume is very funny too, but this one is really funny. I'm not sure if it's like funnier than the first volume, but I definitely noticed that both volumes are really funny, and yeah, just really like what happened in this. I thought it was funny. I will say I'm very interested in this series because Thorn, there's something going on with her backstory, because we see this like scene where she meets a dragon, and it's like the same dragon that appears in the very first book. So I wonder what's gonna happen throughout this entire series. I'm not sure how many volumes there are, to be honest. I think it's either 9 or 10 or maybe more. I could be wrong, but I'm very interested in continuing this series, definitely. So hopefully I can, you know, read volume 3 and 4. I'm pretty sure I will, because my wonderful boyfriend bought me the next 2 volumes, so it's really nice. I gave the second volume 4 to 5 stars. Both volumes are pretty good. Of course, we have to talk about Tokyo Ghoul by Sui Ishida. I have read 4 volumes, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's quickly talk about the 6th volume. This one is pretty good. This is 4 to 5 stars. Let's quickly talk about my favorite volume thus far. Volume 7 is literally the best shit I have ever read. It was so good. I will say it's so stressful reading this volume because the main character Kaneki gets tortured. It was so hard to read that part in the manga because it's just really graphic. I want to reiterate that Tokyo Ghoul is a very graphic and violent manga series because everything is graphic. You get to see so many explicit scenes. Real quick, the main character gets tortured by this guy. He was in so much pain and he was so stressed to the point where his hair turned gray. But anyway, this volume was amazing. It's literally my favorite out of the entire manga series so far, okay? Because I have not finished everything. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. This definitely is one of my favorite books that I have read this month. Well, last month in November. This was so good. Volume 8 and 9, they're both really great. I gave both volumes 4 out of 5 stars. There's not much to say, to be honest, because I don't want to spoil anything. Like, as of right now, I'm more than halfway through the entire manga series, okay? So there are 14 volumes. I have read 9 volumes. I cannot wait to read the other 6 volumes, I believe, if I'm correct. I cannot wait to finish the entire manga series because I'm pretty sure I can do that in December. I bet Tiffany is so proud of me for talking about The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang because yes, I read and finished this book in November. I read this in a 24-hour readathon and I was so determined to finish this book in 24 hours, but obviously that didn't happen. I only read 300 pages in the vlog, which is perfectly fine, but the goal is just hard to achieve basically, but you know, it's fine. I finished the book like a few days after I filmed the reading vlog. Some trigger warnings for this book. Oh, this is a long list of trigger warnings, okay? As you can see. War, drug use, substance addiction, self-harm, racism, misogyny, genocide, bullying, abandonment, abuse, animal death and cruelty, torture, murder/death, rape, mutilation, and human experimentation. This book is about a war orphan named Rin. In the beginning of this book, she really does not want to be in an arranged marriage with this random guy, so she is like determined to get into this academy named Senegard, I believe. Eventually, she gets thrown into war because there's a war between the Empire and the Federation. She's, you know, fighting against the Federation, but it's like really hard because they have resources to take down everyone. This book is just great. It's really dark. Obviously, it's a commentary on war and genocide. It's a really hard book to read at times. Chapter 21, I have heard about this chapter 21 thing like before I read this book, and after reading chapter 21, I totally understand the caution, I guess, when it comes to that one chapter because that chapter is so hard to read. It's a really dark chapter that is about this one town that gets literally obliterated. It's also really sad when you take a step back and realize that this happened in real life. When you read this book, definitely be cautious when you read chapter 21. But overall, this book was great, okay? I really enjoyed the characters. The main character, I think she was written as an anti-hero. Yeah, anti-hero. Because, oh my god, she's not perfect whatsoever. Like, there's a lot of shit that she did that I do not agree on. I don't want to say much, but oh my god. And yes, I really want to continue with the series. I believe the next book is called The Dragon Republic. I will most likely continue the series next year because it's December right now and I'm not in a rush to like finish the entire trilogy. I'm just really glad that I read this book. And here's the thing, I want to let you know that if you want a cute high fantasy book with like romance, and you're not gonna get that with this book. This book does not have any romance, and honestly, I like the fact that it doesn't have romance because it should not be the main focus of this book, in my opinion. I mean, I do understand that the main character like has feelings for this one guy, but the romance is not the central point center point. It's not like the focus point of this entire book. No, it's war and what's gonna happen between these two countries. Overall, this book was great. I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and like I said, I really want to continue with the series, but I will do that in 2021. The next book that I read is Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. This is an adult romance novel about these two main characters named Tate and Sam. Basically, when Tate is 18 years old, she and her grandmother go to London for vacation. She meets a guy named Sam, and you know, they hit it off. I think Sam was like 21 years old and she was like 18. They have this great romance kind of thing. Even though it's like only for 2 weeks, it's still great and stuff. But here's the thing, Tate is the long lost daughter of this very famous actor. She tells Sam everything about her life. At the end of the vacation, Sam tells the tabloid and her life changes forever. Fast forward 14 years later, Tate is like 32. She's like a pretty well-known actress because she uses that opportunity to just be an actress because she actually really wants to act. She's in this movie, and then turns out the script writer is Sam. Honestly, I really enjoyed this book way more than I thought. If you look at the ratings on Goodreads, it's so low. It's not that bad, but it's definitely lower than the other books by the authors. Before I read this book, I was kind of cautious, but at the end, it was okay. I don't hate it, but like, it's not my favorite book from the authors, obviously. I really like Tate and Sam's romance when they were like super young because I just think it's really cute. Like, yes, it's kind of insta-lovey, but at the same time, there's like a lot of build up to it because here's the thing. Let me set the scene. Tate is 18. Sam is 21. They're in London for like 2 weeks. They see each other every single day. They hang out. They talk about a lot of stuff in their lives. And of course, they both have daddy issues. If you have met someone that you're like, ooh, they're kind of attractive, and then you learn that they also have daddy issues, the connection is real. But I will say that the romance between the two main characters when they're like 14 years older, basically when they're in their 30s, I will say the romance can be done better because I feel like we don't have a lot of romantic scenes between Tate and Sam. The ending, oh my god, it was just a whole mess, and I kind of hate the fact that Tate doesn't confront her father. I do wish that we have like 2 more chapters because the way it ended, I was kind of pissed because we're still in this problem. The problem happened at the end. It's not really resolved, and then next thing you know, the book ends, and I was so mad because I really wish we have like a few more chapters. I really believe that this book can be a little bit longer to resolve this problem between the two main characters, but yeah, this book isn't that bad. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I cannot wait to read more books from the authors. If you don't know, I'm reading their books in publication order, so yeah, I'm catching up. Very happy about that. The next book is Orange, the Complete Collection Volume 1 by Ichiko Takano. This book is thick, so there are 3 volumes in this one complete collection thing. The main character is Naho, and in the beginning of this book, she gets a letter from her future self. So basically, she's like 16 in this book. She gets a letter from her 26-year-old self, basically detailing the things that she should do and should not do and what's gonna happen. There are some trigger warnings for this book. Suicide and depression are in this. It's a sad book, and let me just say I loved it. Like, I really loved this. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because I really loved it. I love the characters. I love this friend group because they all care about each other. I will say I'm very nervous for the next volume because I just don't know where the story is gonna go, you know? It's just a good book in my opinion. I really love the characters, and it really hurt me, okay? Because there's a character who is suffering from depression, and let me tell you, his storyline hurts me so much because of what happened to his mom and then what's gonna happen to him. I cannot say much, but yeah, this book is really amazing and I cannot wait to continue with the series. The next book that I read is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is actually a reread for me. The first time I read this book was back in 2017, which is really crazy. Basically, back then I loved this book, but now 2020 me reading this book again, I love this book. I appreciate this book so much more because reading this book after what happened in May of 2020, it hurt me so much. There are some trigger warnings for this book: police brutality, racism, mentions of alcoholism, and then domestic violence. So basically, this book is about a main character named Star, and in the beginning of this book, she witnesses one of her best friends getting murdered by a police officer. She's the witness. It's very complex. I love this book because there's so many important discussions regarding police brutality, but not just that, why drug dealing is very prominent within the Black community community. I love the fact that they talk about that because it's a very important issue. I hate the fact that when people see black people getting murdered, they will try to find whatever horrible things that they have done and just put it out front for everyone. Like for example, the best friend, basically he was a drug dealer and people really focus on the fact that he was a drug dealer. Besides that, I really love the character. Star is such a great main character. This book's amazing. If you have not read this book, please read it because it's so great. It goes by really fast. I listened to the audiobook and I finished this book within like a day or two. So yeah, it went by really fast. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars in 2017, and of course 3 years later I'm gonna give it the same rating because this book is literally one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. The last book that I read in November is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I read this book for the very first time last year in 2019, and I decided to reread it again because I was in the mood to, and it really sucked because the first time I read this book I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but reading this book again I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars because there's a lot of things that I definitely don't like. Real quick, some trigger warnings: self-harm, attempted suicide, murder, animal cruelty, and mention of child abuse. Basically, this book follows our two main characters named Victor and Eli. In this book we get to see like the past POV and then the present POV. Basically, when the two characters were like 18 years old, I want to say, when they were in college, they decide to become EOs, and EOs are extraordinary people, so like people who have superpowers. However, in order to be an EO, you must almost die. It's kind of ridiculous how these two dumbasses decide to do whatever it takes to die and then come back to life, but at the same time you're taking a huge risk because like what happened if you just die? So yeah, that happened, but something went horribly wrong, and then Victor goes to jail for like 10 years, and then of course he's out and about 10 years later. He breaks out of prison basically, and he's like determined to kill Eli. Now here's the thing, when it comes to this book, oh my god, I feel like the first time I read this book I was so slow when it comes to reading this book because I'm pretty sure I started this book like March of 2019 and then I finished it 3 months later. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars because I really loved the ending, but when I reread this book last week, I believe, I definitely noticed that I don't like Victor, I don't like Eli, and I think that's basically it. Victor, when he was like in college, was so annoying because he's just so entitled. Like the way he talks about people really pisses me off. Eli, on the other hand, is very annoying in the present tense, basically in like the present scene. I don't know, when he's like in his 30s, oh my god, this man, I hate the fact that Eli kills so many people. Like literally throughout his entire book, he just murdered people thinking that he's doing the right thing because God tells him to. Honestly, I hate this trope. I really hate the fact that a character kills so many people and then they just use the excuse that they're doing it for God. I feel like the only characters that I actually like are Sydney and Mitch. I would say the ending is still iconic, okay? Like I still really enjoy the ending and like the whole battle scene, but overall I did not love this book the second time around, and that's just so sad because last year I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, but this year I'm just like, yeah, you deserve it 3 out of 5 stars because I was just kind of annoyed for majority of time. And like I said, I feel like the only two characters I love are like the side characters. This is just okay, to be honest. I do hate the fact that I reread this book hoping for the fact that I will, you know, love it the first time, and then next thing you know I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars, which is not a bad rating, but still that's not the same as a 5 out of 5 stars. So those are all of the books that I read in November. I've been here for like an hour, my throat hurts, I feel like I'm losing my voice, and not just that, it's about to be 8 p.m. so I really want to wrap this up because I have things to do after this. But yeah, it's really fun to just sit down and talk about the books that I have read in November. In December, I feel like I'm definitely gonna focus on the books that I really need to read before the year ends. But yeah, that's about it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.